Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And in today's range report, we're going to go back to my roots as the Fort Worth Colt guy from many years ago. And we're going to be reviewing a Colt pistol. In fact, the pistol that we're going to be taking a look at today was considered to be a commercial flop. It was hated by many, but I have some ideas why. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Colt Double Eagle. This is essentially a double action, single action pistol that kind of looks like a 1911. Many people say it is a double action, single action 1911. This version is chambered in 10mm, and as many people say, 10mm is the best millimeter. So as I mentioned, this gun was hated by many people and it was a commercial flop, and I have some ideas on why that is, and I will discuss that a little bit later in this range report. But I'm very excited to get a chance to shoot this because, as I said, a lot of people said it was just a horrible gun. But I'm a huge Colt fan and I might really like this. But we're just going to have to find out by taking it to the range. And before I talk about the things that I like and don't like about this pistol and why I think it actually was a commercial flop, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this really cool and historic pistol. His name is Jack. In fact, he's the second person named Jack that has lent guns to the channel, so I affectionately call him Jack number 2. So thank you so much, Jack. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I couldn't do it without them. And if you guys want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, you get to see all of these videos early, and there will be a link in the description below. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor who always provides all of the ammunition for these range reports and thus makes it financially feasible for me to do, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And most likely, if you're here watching a review on the Colt Double Eagle, essentially a double action, single action 1911, you probably love Colt pistols or 1911 pistols in general. And you probably have a very nice collection of them. And I'm telling you, when you upgrade grips on a 1911 pistol, it can change the way that gun shoots. It changes the way that it looks, and you can take a lot of pride in ownership of that pistol. And if you're looking for great grips, I have the perfect grip company for you, Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. I'm always telling you guys about how Mark is an artist. He's a craftsman. He's always coming out with new and innovative products besides grips, such as pistol stands and even wood panel grips for modern sporting rifles like AR-15s. So if you are in the market for a fine set of grips for your 1911, Beretta 92, CZ75, or Browning High Power, please give Brownworks a look. He makes grips out of laminate woods and can even put on custom logos, custom textures, and custom engravings, as well as finish them in a wide variety of colors and even apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to these grips to make them one of a kind and unique. Anything you can imagine he can make. So I'm going to put a link in the comment section below as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. I'm going to ask you guys to go over there and check out his website and see everything he has to offer. And if you don't find what you're looking for, please make sure to contact Mark, and when you do, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. Alright, so once again, let's take a look at the pistol that we're going to be reviewing today, the Colt Double Eagle. This example is chambered in 10mm, and once again, everyone says 10mm is the best millimeter. It is in stainless steel. It has a double action, single action trigger in it, and let me show you how this works. And if you're familiar with the SIG P-Series of pistols, this is going to have pretty much the same manual of arms. You have a double action trigger right here, and of course if you want to rack the slide or after the first round, the hammer will be back and you will be in single action. And if that hammer is back, you do have a decocker in the same place you would find it on a SIG pistol. So the manual of arms is very similar and very familiar to those SIG owners. The capacity of this gun is 8+1 with a single stack magazine. And This was made by Colt for a very limited amount of time, and as I mentioned earlier, it was kind of a commercial flop because it didn't make anyone happy. If you were a 1911 fan, well, this is such a departure from a 1911, it's very unfamiliar. It's almost blasphemous that it even exists. It's so far away from John Moses Browning's perfect design. But if you're a fan of double action, single action pistols, well, this gun has a few drawbacks. It's kind of heavy. It looks like a 1911, and the whole reason you like double action, single action pistols is because you don't like 1911s. And so it kind of alienates itself and puts itself in a weird place between two camps in the gun world. Those that love 1911s and those that hate it. But then it doesn't really give any satisfaction to either. But I'm really excited to get a chance to shoot this. Many people that have shot this, and I've watched reviews of it, say it's not a very good gun. But I'm wondering if those reviews are kind of biased. But before we get this to the range, as always, I want to talk about the things that I like and don't like about this pistol. And as always, I want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this pistol is that it is a Colt. You guys know I started off as the Fort Worth Colt guy, and when I first got into firearms collecting, I wanted to collect Colts. I just find that company to be so fascinating. It goes hand in hand essentially with early America, the Civil War, and all of the wars up until World War II and even Vietnam with the manufacturing of the M16. Colt is just an American brand. And so I've always been fascinated by that company and always loved their firearms, even the ones that people consider that are flops, because they're simply just a piece of history. I also love the fact this is in stainless steel. Stainless steel guns are so easy to clean, and when it comes to 1911s, stainless steel 1911s just have that right look for me. So the aesthetics of this gun are actually pretty good. I know some people aren't going to like them, but I personally like them. I do like the fact it does have adjustable sights in the back. And that's something you don't see on many 1911s, even from Colt. And being that it is a double action, single action pistol, we do not have a safety on the side where you would normally find it in a single action 1911, but you do have the decocker, which allows you to carry this safely with the hammer down on a loaded chamber. And I think that's the way it was designed to be carried. And I think if you're a fan of double action, single action pistols, that is the way you are going to carry it and the way that you want to carry it. But now let's talk about a few things about this gun that I don't like. And of course, this is going to be the big elephant in the room. It looks like a 1911, but it's not a 1911. And I absolutely think the 1911 is one of the best pistols that's ever been designed. I do think it's a little bit antiquated, but I think if you're going to build a 1911, it needs to be as John Moses Browning intended, a single action gun. 1911s and 2011 pistols just have amazing triggers, and that's something this pistol probably is not going to have. You just can't get a double action, single action trigger to be as nice as a 1911 single action trigger. It's just not going to happen, and that's why I said I think this gun kind of alienated 1911 lovers and collectors. It also is too similar looking to a 1911. I really feel that if Colt would have designed a different slide for this gun, it might have been a bigger success. They could have marketed it as a completely different thing, but this is a symptom of what many companies do that are successful with one product or a mechanism like a locking mechanism. They try to expand that into every gun that they make and create and design, and sometimes that's just not going to work. Really, it wouldn't have taken much to give this slide contour a different look, and I think people would have looked at this gun as something different, maybe a true competitor to the SIG P series of pistols. The last thing I don't like about this is the capacity. I've already said it takes 8+1 in a single stack magazine, and that's another downside to this gun. They tried to upgrade it with a whole new trigger system, but where SIG was innovating and coming out with double stack pistols, they decided to stick with the single stack. So you get a gun that's not quite a 1911, but give it the capacity of a 1911, but give it a more modern trigger system. I really kind of feel like, especially the guns that were chambered in 9 or in 10 millimeter, they could have used a stagger stack magazine in this and actually gotten a little bit more capacity in there. And I think the gun would have been a little bit more relevant. So that's the things that I like and don't like about this gun, but before getting it to the range, I really think we need to look at this trigger. We need to measure it. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera. We're going to try this thing out with the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge and actually see what it measures at. I actually think the double action pull is way too heavy. I won't be able to measure that, but we can definitely see what the single action side of this trigger is all about. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Let's check this thing out, and then we'll get it to the range. So let's test out this trigger on this Colt Double Action Series 90 pistol. First of all, we will drop the magazine, ensure there is no ammunition in it, and of course safety check the firearm and ensure that there is no ammunition in the chamber. It looks like we are good. Now, I want to show you this trigger first. Let me go ahead and decock it. Here is the double action pull. It is long, but I will say it is heavy and smooth. It's not really 100% predictable, but I'm very impressed with how smooth it is. You can get it to what I'm going to call a wall right about there, and it does have a decent break for a double action trigger. And now let's take a look at the single action pull. And when it's in single action, you are right there at the wall, just a little bit of take up. It's actually a little bit gritty, but a very predictable break that is crisp and pretty light. Not the lightest trigger out there, but here's the reset. Very short, and then you're right back at that wall. So that is pretty good, but it is a little bit gritty still. All right, so let me get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge here, and let's actually test this out. Now, the double action side of this is way too heavy for this to read, but I would say it's probably in the 14 to 15 pound range. It is pretty darn heavy, but I'm pretty sure we can do the single action side. So let me go ahead and clear the averages here. Let me cock the hammer, and let's test this thing out. So for our first pull, 5 pounds, 4.1 ounces. 5 pounds, 4.7 ounces. 5 pounds, 4.4 ounces. 5 pounds, 1.4 ounces. And finally, 5 pounds, 7.4 ounces, which gives us an average of 5 pounds, 4.4 ounces. So not the lightest trigger, but not super heavy. It's kind of right in between that 5 to 6 pound range where you find most carry guns are today. So not as nice as a 1911, but it's manageable depending on what you like in a trigger. So that's what this trigger is all about. So now let's go ahead and get this pistol to the range and actually see how it shoots. So as always, I will start with the target at 7 yards. I'm gonna run 2 magazines through this. We're gonna see how this pistol shoots, and I'll report back to you with anything I discover that I like or don't like, and then we'll try out some other tests. And hopefully this pistol is going to exceed my expectations and be nicer than what a lot of people claim it actually shoots like. And well, all I can really say is that I'm really surprised. I've heard so many people say this is a horrible gun. There's a reason why it was discontinued so quickly. But for me, the gun's shooting great. No, it doesn't feel like a 1911. Honestly, the gun that I would compare this to would be a SIG P220. That's what it honestly feels like. It doesn't have that smooth Cadillac recoil of the SIG. It does have the recoil of a 1911, but it feels like a SIG P220. It also seems to handle this 10mm pretty well. Now, I do know people are going to say in the comment section, modern 10mm is not the same as it was back in the 1980s. And that is a fair enough point. But it is more powerful than 45, and it seems to handle it really well. So the gun is accurate, it's a naturally pointing and shooting firearm, it feels good in my hand. So far, I'm impressed with it, and I don't see the problems that other people claim there is with this pistol. Alright, so the next test I'm going to do is double the distance on this target, load up 2 more magazines, and just see if there's anything else I discover about it. Hopefully, as I continue to shoot this, it's going to continue to shoot just as good as my first shot. So, here we go, more rounds down range, and let's just see how it continues to perform. And at about 15 yards, the grouping does open up just a little bit, but not by much. The gun has great accuracy for me for a gun like this. It's just shooting great. I have no issues, no complaints. It's just running good. And the sights are easy to acquire, so no problems whatsoever. I honestly don't understand why this gun had so much hate, except that it looks like a 1911, but it doesn't shoot like a 1911. I think it's just the purists, the Colt lovers, that look at this and go, it's too much of a departure from a 1911. That must be the only thing. All right, so the next test I want to do is the bench rest or the barrier test. I'm going to put the target out at about 20 or 25 yards as far as I can at this indoor range and just shoot from a barrier. And I just want to see if I can take the human element out of this and how well it shoots for me and how accurate it can be at this distance. So let's go back to the range. And while this pistol might not be a tack driver for me, I'm pretty happy with the accuracy. This is great practical and defensive accuracy. I actually refer to this as duty accuracy. This would be perfectly adequate for home defense, for carry. I don't think it would be great for a competition gun, but for many other applications, it's perfectly fine. Overall, no issues, as I've said. I am very impressed. Alright, so the next test I want to do is the hollow point test. And this time we're actually going to amp up on the power of this ammo. So I believe the hollow points that I'm using here are actually closer to the original loadings of 10mm of yesteryears. So here we go back to the range. Let's see if this thing feeds hollow points, and let's see if it just continues to perform well with no malfunctions. And the hollow points seem to run just fine in this. So if you bought this gun or own this gun for self-protection, home defense, or carry, it's going to be just a great firearm. It doesn't seem to have any issues whatsoever. Now, I could tell on the loading of that 10mm, it was much more powerful than the range ammo I was using before. Bigger flash, but the recoil was not that much more. This is a very heavy gun. It's a full steel-framed firearm, and so that absorbs that recoil really well. Alright, so the next test I want to do is the double action test. Now, normally you would not shoot this gun in this manner, but I want to see how accurate it can be with only double action trigger pulls, because that's usually the complaint when it comes to double action, single action pistols. So after every round, I will use the decocker and decock the hammer and shoot it double action. So let's go back to the range and see what type of accuracy I can get with this pistol in double action only. And this pistol is reminding me of a SIG P220 more and more. Honestly, I think this gun is much closer to that than it is a 1911. And every time I review those SIG P series pistols and I do the double action test, I get this same result. The trigger pull is long and heavy, but it's smooth and it's actually pretty accurate. And this gun is great in double action. I don't know why people are complaining about this gun so much. Once again, I think it really is the Colt and 1911 purists that hate this. But I think if you like Sig Sauer guns, you're going to be right at home with this pistol. It's really nice, and I don't understand why so many people dislike it. Alright, so the last test I want to do is kind of 3-in-1. I do want to shoot this thing fast. I want to drop the magazine as well, get a fresh magazine in there as fast as I possibly can and get the gun back in action. And I also want to point shoot this gun. And the reason that I do this test is I always say, you know, when your adrenaline is pumping and you're having to use the gun in a self-defense scenario, you don't always have time to get your sights on target. We all like to think we're going to train that way, but that might not be reality. You might just need to pull this out of a holster and shoot it fast. And will it be accurate? Will it be naturally pointing? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So here we go. Let's go back to the range. 2 more magazines. Let's shoot this thing fast and just see how I do. And well, I can shoot this thing fast, I can get a magazine in it quickly, and it's a naturally pointing firearm. It's very accurate for me. It's great! I'm so surprised by this thing. In fact, it honestly shoots a little bit better than some of the Colt 1911s that I've shot in the past. I don't understand the hate. So, after all these tests, and after getting it to the range, what are my final thoughts on the Colt Double Eagle 10mm pistol? Well, I will say, compared to a 45, it does have a little bit more muzzle flip, and that was very prevalent in that last test. But overall, this gun shoots fantastic. It's like a SIG P series pistol, but once again, I think that's why this was not more popular than what it was. I think Colt was trying to market this to 1911 fans. But if they would have redesigned the slide and said, hey, it's a completely new design from the ground up, look, it doesn't look like anything we've ever made before, I think you could have gotten people that might be SIG fans or Smith & Wesson fans or maybe even revolver fans to come over to the Colt semi-auto world. But they made it look like a 1911. So that's why it got the hate. But from a performance standpoint, this thing has been fantastic for me. I have no issues whatsoever. I think the only gripe I have about this and what I would want to see them change if they ever reintroduced this pistol is to give it more capacity. I really think a staggered stacked magazine, maybe something with 12 rounds in it, it wouldn't really make the frame all that much thicker. It would make the gun so much more relevant. The trigger's fine. The gun is very accurate for me. I like the weight of it, even though it is pretty heavy. It seems to absorb the recoil of 10mm really well. But the capacity would be the only thing that I would complain about. So on my star system, how would I rate the Colt Double Eagle 10mm pistol? Well, this did exceed my expectations, and with the exception of the magazine capacity, I absolutely love this gun. So this gun is getting 4.5 stars out of 5. A fantastic review for an awesome Colt pistol. And if you've heard all the rumors about this gun that it sucks, if you ever get a chance to shoot it, I definitely think you should. It might change your mind. Don't go into it with the mindset of, oh, it's a double action 1911. If you just go into shooting it as, hey, it's just something else, you might come away really liking it, just like I did. So let me know in the comments section below, do you own or have ever shot a Double Eagle Colt? I'd like to know if your thoughts mirror mine, and were you as accurate with this gun as I was? I had a lot of fun getting to shoot this review. So let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching. No, you would normally not shoot it.